Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. My name is Ray Petree. I'm a columnist for the Augusta Free Press, and I'm joined once again by my co-host, my tag team partner, the Arn Anderson to my Tully Blanchard, JDO Double G. How's it going, brother?
Going great, man.
What are we talking about today, Jordan?
We are talking about WrestleMania 41 main event of night two.
What?
We're going to talk about the final boss,
What?
and we are going to talk about Raw After Mania.
What? Stone
Oh.
Cold Steve Austin ramming that four-wheeler into the barricade, potentially striking a fan. Jordan, I got to ask you, cold open question of the week. Was Stone Cold under the influence?
Yeah, man, he crashed it before he even got on stage. They had the video of him like missing the ramp and almost going, off to the side, and he was backing up, and I think he hit a wall or something. Yeah, he was a little lit on I think on that night.
All right, down to business. Uh, Jordan, April 24th would have been Lou Thesz's 109th birthday. To celebrate his memory, his legacy, and his sensational career, I had the opportunity to speak to his protege, the trainer of his wrestling school, Mark Fleming. Mark Fleming, a former wrestler in his own right, he worked for Jim Crockett Promotions, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and UWFI. Mark had a really special relationship with Lou. Lou was the best man in his wedding. He was like an uncle or a father to him, a close confidant. And for those who don't know, Lou Thesz, one of the greatest champions, in my estimation, the greatest champion in wrestling history. Um, Someone who held the title collectively for a combined 13 years, traveled across the world, defended his title against all comers. His career began in the 30s and it spanned 7 decades. Um, and Lou is the last link to the champions that preceded him and those who followed him. He knew the very first unified world champion in wrestling history, George Hackenschmidt, and he knew all the champions, up until the 80s and the 90s. A very influential figure in wrestling. And I got to talk to Mark and learn a lot about the man and his insight and his opinions on some of his contemporaries. It was a really insightful conversation. I hope you guys check it out. Um, and I want to thank Mark for giving me that opportunity because it's not every day you get to talk to someone about um, a wrestler of Lou Thesz's caliber and learn some of the things that he didn't tell anyone. It's not information he shared freely. Lou was a very private man, and but he had accumulated a lot of knowledge and met a lot of great people, and I got to learn a lot about that. So, terrific opportunity. Thank you, Mark. Um, Next week we're gonna do a Q&A, little ask us anything, wrestling related, of course. Uh, if it's not about wrestling, we might answer it, we might not, but it could be about WWE. It could be about WrestleMania 41. It could be about AEW. It could be about Double or Nothing. It could be about All In. It could be about Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. It could be about Pat McAfee getting choked out on Raw. Anything. It could be about past, present, future. We want to answer your questions. We look forward to it. We love doing these episodes. So please leave us some comments on this video. And while you're at it, like it and subscribe to the channel. We've had a lot of, I think the last few weeks have been a watershed moment for this podcast. We want to thank everyone for your support. The last few videos have done really well. And we look forward to keep pumping out content with you. This is the fourth podcast we've recorded in the last week, I guess. More to come on that. So one of them wasn't uploaded. My fault. Ported the wrong video, so there's a little technical issue. But I think a review for WrestleMania 41 night one will be up soon, and then this video will follow it. So let's start at the end of night two, Jordan. John Cena defeating Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. Talk about this, Jordan. What happened on Sunday night?
Well, basically, we had obviously, like you said, John Cena looking to win his 17th World Championship against Cody Rhodes, the current champion who had been champion for a year at that point, a little over a year maybe. And Cena comes out and it's all black screen, the ramp, everything just towards John Cena. So a very, un-Cena-like entrance. Um, Cody comes out with a really cool looking Iron Man type mask, um, or a skull, but with the face comes up. And yeah, this match was it was not great. It was slow. It was it was basically John Cena looking like he's past his prime. And I mean, everybody knows it. He's old. You can't fault him for that. But for me, Cody was clearly slowing down his pace to match with Cena's. Um, and it was a little back and forth, and then you know they're both down, and Travis Scott music hits, and out comes Travis Scott with the belt, walking down like he has his own Mania entrance, like he's going to a match. So slow, it was so bad. It completely threw off the match timing because you're just sitting there just waiting. Like Cena and Cody are just down in the ring waiting for him to just saunter onto the ring. It was really bad. Um, he gets involved, gets up in Cody's face. Obviously, they're referring to when Travis Scott punched him in the face for real and blackened his eye, messed up his eardrum. Cody hits him with the crossroads. Cena tries to hit him with the belt. Cody stops him. Then Cody has the belt. Cena's begging off. Cody looking conflicted for some reason. And then, yeah, he doesn't do it. Cena hits him with the belt, and we have a new record holder in the WWE as a 17-time world champion. John Cena wins the WWE Championship. Um, Very anticlimactic, really bad. Probably one of the worst WrestleMania endings I've seen in quite a while. It was, from what I've seen, universally panned by everybody. Um, and yeah, just a really bad way to end WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I think the part that we don't want to lose here is that Cody had John Cena dead to rights, was going for the pin, had covered him, and Travis Scott grabbed the referee. Now,
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot about
I
that part.
understand wrestling is fake, wrestling is scripted, wrestling it's not a real sport, but it abides by real rules, and that's the gravity that makes wrestling interesting. If it didn't have rules, it wouldn't be the art form that it is. And normally that would mean a disqualification. This wasn't a no DQ match. This wasn't an anything goes match. This wasn't a last man standing match. The match should have ended there, and it didn't. Obviously, for reasons that you know played into the conclusion of this match. And like you said, John Cena winning that 17th championship, breaking Ric Flair's record. And I say record because Ric Flair has more than 16 world titles. It's something he's adamant about. It's something that is factually true. He has, anywhere you could recognize from 21 to 25 world titles. So 17 is, it's all fun and stuff. Yeah, Travis Scott, like you said, walking down with that slow gait, pretending like he's, John Cena's manager or something like that, and he was just late to the party or something.
Yeah.
Um, Getting his own entrance music, walking down with the belt that he was given by The Rock, or Triple H, or whatever. Yeah, this was terrible, and I understand that the ethos of WrestleMania is the conversion of pop culture in wrestling, and that's how this got started. But things have changed, and this is the main event for the most important title in the company, where the two most important wrestlers, arguably, are in the ring. It detracted from it all. And I have one more comment to make about your point about the pace of this match. This might be a deep cut for some WWE fans, but a Wrestle Kingdom, a Tokyo Dome main event. It's slow and plodding, but it builds and it crescendos into a incredible climax. Typically, and this was like that, except there was no climax, and it ended about 25 minutes too early. It was just slow. It had no explosive ending, no emphatic climax, no moment that punctuates it where things start turning the other way. It just was slow, and it ended really poorly. I think it's hard to say because the fans in Las Vegas, they cheered for John Cena, which certainly wasn't the intended reaction. But that's the bizarre world of WrestleMania is you get these crowds that they're not really wrestling fans a lot of the time. So, you know, Jordan, Dave Meltzer gave this match 1 3/4 stars, which is pretty abysmal.
Yeah.
What would you rank this? Honestly, what would you? I mean, we weren't fans of the match. We weren't fans of the outcome, but just in terms of the action, what would you give this?
Um, I'd probably I'd probably give it this about the same. Maybe like maybe another star added to it, but just because of like the magnitude of John Cena's last WrestleMania main event. But yeah, it was bad. Like it was all around bad. Like Cena was not in ring shape to be able to go for a WrestleMania main event match. That you want it to be a really great match. He can't do it anymore. Um, and that added to part of the problem. And overall, for me, this, like I said about night one when that comes out, and that's posted up. I said that that ending made Gunther look like a complete punk. It made him look so weak, so inept. And this was exactly the same. Like you made Cody look so inept, so just weak. Like you had him, he got beat by John Cena, who is clearly past his prime. The last time he was in a WrestleMania match, he lost to Austin Theory, who's now a jobber. And, you had Travis Scott, who, when he got into the ring, Cody looked like, I mean, he looked like a behemoth in comparison to Travis Scott. And you had Travis Scott be the reason why this match ended the way it did. It was just all around bad. Whoever's idea it was needs to be fired because it was so terrible. I mean, this is WrestleMania. This is the biggest show of the year, like the biggest show, the showcase of the Immortals. And you have that ending for this show on a night two that was actually pretty good up to that point. So yeah, it was so bad. I don't know how you think that that was a good idea. It made Cody look so weak. He got booed. I don't even know where Cody goes from here. Like I don't even know how you recover. Same thing with Gunther. I don't know how you recover from that. At least Gunther was getting beat by at least a guy who's younger and athletic, and at least is not as bad. But this was terrible.
Let's talk about what ostensibly was the centrifugal force of this main event was The Rock, final boss, who 2 months ago, a little over 2 months ago now, made a proposition to Cody Rhodes that if Cody becomes The Rock's champion, if he sells his soul, he will be rewarded with fame that he couldn't imagine, prestige as one of the greatest athletes in the world, maybe the greatest, have the biggest platform imaginable. And Cody Rhodes turned him down. And he was met in kind with John Cena betraying him. And it was revealed to us John Cena was the person that The Rock had handpicked to be his champion. And then we went a few weeks and John Cena returned, but The Rock was nowhere to be found. And we waited throughout the build to this WrestleMania for The Rock to return, and he didn't. We thought maybe he'll return at Mania, and he didn't. Um, and all of that sort of culminated on, I believe, Monday. The Rock was on the Pat McAfee show, and he he didn't hold any punches. I mean, he didn't pull any punches. He said everything in plain English about how things went down, and this is what he had to say. This was The Rock on the McAfee show. I did feel, and I made the call, I don't want to be involved in that. Let the final boss step back into the shadows. Let all the spotlight go to John and Cody. Let's not make it about Cody's soul or John's soul. Let's just let them do what they do. Yeah. Then he said that they had 6 weeks to plan for that. I love the finish of the match. I would have finessed things a little differently in how they got there, but that's just me creatively. End quote. Now, Dave LaGreca of Busted Open responded to that. And I'm not a big fan of Dave LaGreca, but I guess the aftermath of his response is really what's important here. Dave LaGreca said on his show, I believe Tuesday or Wednesday, you're going to go on McAfee's show and say, yeah, I would have done things differently. Yeah, I would have adjusted some things. It's nice to hear from you now, pal. It's over. You talk about Monday morning quarterback. That's a Tuesday morning quarterback. Thanks, pal. Didn't make yourself available. Didn't show up to WrestleMania. But now I'm going to say, yeah, I would have done things differently. You talk about completely throwing Triple H under the bus. That's exactly what The Rock did. If you're not going to be there and you didn't take part in it, then you shouldn't have said anything about it. Uh, Yesterday, The Rock responded on Twitter. Hi, Dave. The business is a complete work and always has been and always will be. Every aspect of it, every match, every interview. Please join me, Cody, Cena, Brian, and the rest of us for our creative discussions so you can expand your perspective. Until then, stop ranting. It's not healthy, my friend. Enjoy the show. End quote. Now, the Brian he's talking about is Brian Gerwitz, his personal writer who helped him, early in his career, late in the late 90s and early 2000s, write for him. And is clearly, helping him write whatever material he brings to the WWE now. I mention all this because clearly this plays The Rock's approach to this clearly played a huge role in the main event of WrestleMania 41, I'm sorry, night 2 of WrestleMania 41. What do you make, just optics, what do you make of The Rock's comments and his response to Dave LaGreca?
Well, I'll put it plainly, screw The Rock. The Rock this year has been one of the worst things in the company, period. Like him just showing up, not showing up, all of it has completely screwed up how WWE could have done things. And he's so selfish, man. I used to be a big fan of The Rock, and the stuff he did leading up to WrestleMania 40 last year, I thought was really good, and I liked it a lot. And I think it really added to the match. Even though I don't see why he had to be the one to pin Cody, but whatever. Then you go into this year, and he's goes on to Raw After Mania, and they kind of tease him versus Cody, and then he's gone all that time, doesn't have show back up again until Bad Blood. Then he comes out at the end of the tag team match, and has his three fingers up in the air and whatever that's supposed to mean, and everybody's like, okay, all right, here we go. Rock's back. We're gonna have something crazy happen. Some new stuff's gonna happen, and then he disappears again, and we don't see him. And then he shows up on, I think, the Raw Netflix debut was the next time he showed up, and basically completely throws everything that they had built up to that point out the window. Is like, I love Cody Rhodes. He's great. I love him. Love Roman Reigns. He's great. Everybody's great. All happiness and wonderful times. And then he goes out on NXT the next night and is just like, oh, we're gonna, sit back and take a ride on the final boss with the ride I'm taking you on. And it's all of it has been so incoherent. And yeah, for him to come out on this after Mania and say, yeah, I would have done things differently. Well, maybe showed up to the damn show that was centered around you, which really, like, and I say that, but it really even wasn't, because after Cena sided with The Rock, he never said anything about him again. They never talked about each other. He never mentioned why he joined The Rock, why he needed to join The Rock. He never talked about him again. So, like, Cena could have just turned heel and then gone on. He didn't have to do anything with The Rock. It's just, yeah, it was so stupid. And Travis Scott being the one to get involved in that match instead of The Rock, when Travis Scott, like, I could beat up Travis Scott. Like, you telling me like Cody Rhodes couldn't have folded him if he wanted to? It was so ridiculous. So yeah, for him to come out on McAfee show and be like, oh yeah, I would have done things differently. Well, the whole thing was screwed up because of you. You were the reason why it didn't make any sense. If you had just shown up, it still wouldn't have been that great, but it would have made more sense. At least it would have not made Cody look like a complete punk. So yeah, it was ridiculous, man. And I mean, I don't know what the relationship between Triple H and The Rock is, but if I were Triple H, I'd be pissed. I would be straight pissed that he's has to keep dealing with this.
Yeah, I guess we'll just follow that train right there. Does this situation indicate some degree of friction between Triple H and The Rock on a creative and a corporate level? Because we know the pull that Dwayne Johnson has in TKO. Obviously, his relationship with Ari Emanuel is well documented. And Triple H, yes, head of content creation. Yeah, he's the booker of WWE, but the fact of the matter is he doesn't have the profile that The Rock does. He's not as famous as The Rock. He's not as prolific as a advertiser or as a spokesman as The Rock is. Do you think this indicates a level of autonomy that The Rock has that's disrupting this company right now?
Yeah, I mean it's clearly like I don't know Triple H's booking style. I don't know if if he thought that was a good idea or not. I don't know. But for me, I can't imagine it's easy to book the show up to a certain point, and then The Rock can just show up and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna take your trademark sledgehammer and smash up everything you've been doing all this time and go a completely different direction." That completely throws the show off. And he's on the board, so he can do what he wants. And yeah, I think there's got to be some issues there, I would imagine, um, because this is now what the second WrestleMania that The Rock has come in and tried to throw his weight around and change things up. Last year it's no one really knows if that was what happened or not. There's been all kinds of different accounts on whether he actually did that or not, or if it was Triple H's intention to do that. No one knows. But this one to me is kind of clearly like The Rock came in, wanted to just show up and do this business his way, and then left and didn't have anything else to do with it.
I'll say this to play devil's advocate. We have this trailer coming out for WWE Unreal. It's a Netflix documentary about essentially the planning of WrestleMania 41 and how much work goes into booking an event like this and all this coming together. And we saw on a whiteboard the scrapped plans for WrestleMania 41, and it was a very different looking show. I don't really want to get into that in granular detail, but it was very different looking.
Yeah.
And I guess my point being is that I think we've been talking about it for the better part of 5 months now. That this build to WrestleMania has largely been incoherent. It has not been well planned. It seems rushed. And I'm not necessarily saying that The Rock plays no part in the uh, mockery of this main event, but it's not like Triple H has a it's not like he did a very great job of this event either. It's not. I mean, there are other matches on this that were completely. Um, I don't want to say. Well, that's maybe harsh. There were some matches on this card on both nights that were terrible, and the outcomes were bad, and
Yeah.
the builds were
No,
not great.
yeah, it's not been Triple H has built up no goodwill with me on his booking so far. Um, like pretty much all of last year almost into this WrestleMania build, it's been terrible. Like let's just call it what it is. It's been bad. It's not like it's been incoherent. The matches, except for a few, really weren't interesting. It was just basically like let's throw a bunch of people into multi-man matches because I can't figure out how to book this show and get everybody on there in matches that make sense. So we'll just throw them all into multi-man matches.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying the multi-man matches didn't work. Like they were great matches because you had really good wrestlers in them. But that still doesn't excuse the fact that all of this stuff came together like last minute. Like there was no build to it. There was no long-term build to anything. And yeah, it was really bad. And you can't blame The Rock for all of that. So unless The Rock's just coming in and just making decisions on everything,
Yeah.
but that I can't imagine that's what he's doing. So yeah, Triple H is definitely not uh, excused from blame for all of this. And the whole pulling behind the curtain thing, I'm getting so tired of that. Like stop. Like we know kayfabe is dead, but that does not mean that you have to just continually pull out the corpse and just keep beating it. I mean, gosh, like every chance they get, they're like, yeah, this is fake. It's all fake. None of it's real. It's just like people can invest themselves into wrestling when they can believe into some of it.
Mhm.
And that does not mean that you have to just completely destroy that every chance you get. So yeah, I'm really I don't care if I never see The Rock in WWE ever again. Like he could not ever show up again, and I would be perfectly happy. Like it would be so much better if he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, we unfortunately, we live in a post kayfabe world where everyone knows it's fake, and I think a lot of the intrigue now comes from when we can't tell what's real and what's not. Is there speckles of truth in there somewhere? and that's in promos and matches, in booking and whatever it is. And I just think, yeah, to your point, they've really pulled the curtain back too much. It's gotten to a point where it's a little excessive. I don't want to look at the WWE as a like a production studio where we're just telling you how everything's made and it's all cinema, it's all entertainment. None of it's real anymore. I don't like living in that kind of world. And I don't think that's insightful. Um, One more thing I want to touch on before we move on to Raw After Mania is Paul Heyman was on McAfee show, and Paul Heyman really trying to cultivate a new personality as a real heel, and really threw caution to the wind and was talking about a lot of things on McAfee show that both relating to WWE and otherwise,
Oh my God,
about broaching topics like Shannon Sharp and
that was
McAfee's
wild.
dislike of Stephen A. Smith, and he talked about McAfee smoking weed and not listening to his bosses because he wants to swing his what around. And
Yeah,
um I only mention this because of the tone of this conversation that we're on is,
yeah,
both of us are sports guys. We love basketball. You're a big NBA fan. I mean, a big NFL fan. I'm sorry. We're both
yeah,
NBA fans, but you're a big NFL fan. We love ESPN. We grew up watching Sports Center and, early First Take and things like that. And
yeah,
I really, it's jarring to see this kind of stuff on ESPN. Like, I understand that they're in bed with the WWE, and
yeah,
but it's always sort of been they've approached it like they're reporting on sports almost, like it's about headlines and things like that.
yeah.
This was strange and bizarre and kind of uncomfortable. I don't know.
It felt like to me. It felt like to me like Heyman was he was trying to build himself as being a bad guy, and like because he's been kind of the quiet, sort of quiet, kind of like in the background guy with the bloodline,
Mhm,
and now he's a little more front and center with Rollins and Braun Breaker, which we'll get to later.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, it felt like he went way overboard trying to act like a jerk and just trying to be like kind of how he used to be,
Yeah,
Paulie dangerously trying to be that kind of outspoken, I'm gonna say what I want to say type of guy.
yeah,
And it felt like he was just throwing everything out there, like no matter what. And I can't imagine they were very happy that he said some of those things that he said
yeah.
because it sounded like he was just like he went way overboard with it.
I I sort of like. I guess I respect that approach more than the Rocks, but
Oh yeah, well, anything's better than what The Rock was doing.
yeah, the last 2 weeks of the WWE, the press, the headlines that they've generated have not all been great. Um,
No.
but my last question on Mania, and then we'll move on. And this is about the booking. We talked about this when we were watching the show. I asked you this, and we didn't really get a lot of opportunity to talk about it. But should John Cena have turned heel at WrestleMania, and they just booked this as two baby faces, two guys who are beloved. One's trying to break the record, one's trying to retain his title, and then at Mania he turns heel, and not have The Rock involved in any of it, not have Travis Scott involved in any of it. Just John Cena wins the Elimination Chamber. It's two guys who have a lot of admiration for each other in a scientific match, and then he turns heel. Do you think that would have been better than what we got?
Um, I mean, yeah, I would have rather them done that. I mean, personally, I would have rather them just not had Cena go after Cody. Personally, obviously there was a part of me that the child in me that was happy to see Cena wrestling for the title. I would have rather him face somebody else. Like I'd rather have maybe like him face Braun Breaker, something like that. Now, obviously, that would have meant he was going to lose, but or maybe not. Maybe he would have won the IC title. He would have been the Grand Slam champion.
Grand Slam,
Would
yeah.
have been a Grand Slam champion. Um, have a match against Braun Breaker and really try to put him over. I would have rather them done that because then you would have still got to cheer Cena, which everybody was doing. You got to have a fun retirement tour with him as a good guy because at this point, him being a bad guy, I know in the moment I was excited for it because it's been something that we've been waiting for. But after it's been going on for a while, I don't know. It really sucks for him to be a bad guy at this point.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe it's because of how it's been done because it's been so clunky. But I would have rather Cody just face somebody else, maybe like CM Punk, or something like that. Something else where you could have had a really good match, and it would have been better than what Cena's been doing was doing. And yeah, like The Rock and Travis Scott not being involved, no matter what, would have been great. I could have never seen those guys ever, and it would have been awesome. Um, I would have rather done it that way because just a heel Cena, man, just in his last run, just it's not as fun.
Well, great segue. We're gonna move on to the Raw after WrestleMania 41. And let's just start right there. John Cena. I hope living in a post-final boss world where he's kind of extricated himself from all of this, and this is the gimmick. He's the champion. He won his 17th title. He's the most prolific champion in WWE history. And he's calling himself the last real world champion because when he retires, he's going to take this belt and he's going to end the reign. He's going to end the lineage of this title. And this is the title that Bruno Sammartino held. This is the title that Bob Backlund and Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock held. It has the lineages of the WCW title and the Big Gold World Heavyweight Championship, and now the Universal Championship that has officially been retired. John Cena says he's going to retain this title, and he's going to retire it, and is going to end the lineage of it. And furthermore, he has 27 dates left, and those aren't matches; those are appearances. He has 27 appearances left, and when that number runs out, he's gone, and he's going to leave with this title, which is a bold proclamation. And also, there's sort of the implication that he's not going to wrestle a lot for it. So there's not going to be a lot of opportunities for someone to take it. He delivers this promo. Before we continue on, I want to ask you, how do you feel about this gimmick? I know you just said that you're tired of seeing him as a heel, but just in a vacuum, how do you feel about this gimmick, Jordan?
I mean, if we're here now, he's a bad guy, and if we're gonna do it, this is how I'd rather him do it. Like you said, a post final boss world. I don't want to see him with The Rock. I don't want to see him with Travis Scott. They need to just go away. Don't have them anywhere near John Cena. That didn't work. It was horrible, and we don't need to see it anymore. Let this be John Cena being a bad guy, being like, look, I'm gonna work out the rest of my dates, and then I'm gonna be gone, and you guys can make a new belt and start over with a new lineage of the title. But I'm taking this one with me, and let it just be guys trying to take this title away from Cena, before he leaves with it. I don't know if that means he's going to keep it the entire time. Um, it's possible. It would be interesting. And I think it gives him the opportunity to have matches with people that we want to see him have matches with, like Randy Orton, CM Punk, Roman Reigns potentially again, um, like that. And it'll be interesting to see how they go with it. But yeah, if going forward, I hope this is what they do. Like it's just Cena going out there being a jerk, being a heel, saying this is date 24 and I'm still the champion. And once it's done, I'm taking it and there's nobody who's going to take it from me. So, yeah, I hope this is how they go with it.
Cena mid promo, kind of wrapping things up, and all of a sudden, Randy Orton in a familiar position, delivering that RKO, shutting Cena up. Backlash is in St. Louis. The man on the marquee is Randy Orton, a St. Louis native. Randy Orton, also John Cena's most notable rival, in my opinion, and I'm sure yours too, and a lot of other people's. Their rivalry is legendary. And what an opportunity to have these two compete once again for the title. I think that really, I mean, I expected it. Once he won the title, I figured, well, Randy's going to wrestle him for it. But it was a hell of a segment, man. I really enjoyed that a lot. What did you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, the kid in me is like, if I had told you we would be living in a world where we would have a babyface Randy Orton facing a heel John Cena for the WWE Championship at a pay-per-view, I would have never believed you. And now we're here, and it was awesome. Obviously I love both guys a lot. They've wrestled each other, I mean, an umpteenth amount of times, and the matches are always good because they're both good at what they do. And I think it's going to be great, man. I think the promos between these two are going to be awesome. Um, Randy is obviously extremely beloved by the fans at this point. Uh, and Cena's really working on heel, being a bad guy. And I think Randy to me is a guy he's so beloved by the fans that it's easier for the fans to really cheer for him and boo Cena. Whereas with Cody, it was kind of half and half because you just have the people who just want to go against the grain. But he's such a beloved guy, and him in St. Louis for this title, I don't know if they're going to do a change. Um, but him wrestling for the title in St. Louis, it's going to be a really, really big match.
As of right now, I don't think he's scheduled to appear at Backlash. So, um, hopefully that changes. I think
Yeah, it better.
the dates we know he's available for from just doing a quick Google search is May 30th in Knoxville, Tennessee on SmackDown. Uh, Money in the Bank in LA. He's booked for SmackDown in Lexington, Kentucky on June 13th, and then again on June 20th in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Um, so obviously subject to change, I'm sure, but yeah, I hope he's on that card. I hope we get that match. And like you said, that listen, the match itself, these guys are up there in age, and Cena especially is not in great ring shape.
Yeah,
But the promos it'll generate, the television we're going to get from this is going to be golden. And like you said, is kids who grew up in the ruthless
yeah,
aggression era and the PG era.
yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, this is just
Oh yeah,
sucking the sweet teat of nostalgia.
yeah. This promo and this segment right here really gave me hope for this Cena heel turn that is going to be really good going forward. Like just him being a bad guy, which he can do it really well, and yeah, just put him against guys, man. Have them try to take a shot at the title. I think that's a great way to run this thing out.
Yeah, and this idea that he's going to retire with the title is right. The television writes itself. I mean, the opportunity you have with someone like Punk and a lot of other guys, Roman Reigns, it's going to be great. I think. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if it's going to be great, but it could be great. It has a lot of
Yeah,
potential. Next up on the docket, Becky Lynch turns heel. One day after she comes back, she wins the
yeah,
tag titles. The very next day, loses them and then betrays Lyra Valkyria.
yeah,
Um, but I think maybe the more important headline here is that Becky Lynch took Bayley's spot at WrestleMania,
yeah,
and Bayley is uh, the consummate locker room leader, a soldier if there ever were one, someone who's fought back from injury to return and reinvented herself, been a babyface, been a heel. When she was a babyface, a lot of fans didn't like her. When she was a
yeah.
heel, I mean, they didn't like her. They turned her face. So she got pulled out of this match, and we didn't really get a chance to talk about it at great detail. How do you feel about that, Jordan?
I wasn't happy about it. And I'll fully admit I haven't been as up on a lot of stuff Bailey's done because she's been kind of all over the place. Like she was the champion, the title reign wasn't booked very well, and then she lost it, and then after that she's just been kind of floating around. She really hasn't done anything notable. Um, and I thought it was weird that they were having this tag team title match. It was her and Lyra Valkyria, and I didn't think much of it. And then she gets pulled from it, and I was like, okay, she must be hurt, must have got an injury. And then they're just like, no, they just pulled her out of the match. And then obviously we find out Becky Lynch returns and takes her spot and wins the title. And yeah, the whole way that it was done, I don't know if they did it intentionally to feed into the Becky Hogan stuff that people have been talking about. I don't know if that's what they did. It really feels like that. I mean, that's clearly what this felt like. So whether they did it intentionally or not, I don't know. But that's what this is going to look like, and people are going to liken it to. So yeah, I wasn't happy about it. I mean, obviously, I like Becky, and I'm happy that she's back because she's really good. And I was surprised that they turned her into a heel right after the match, or after she won the title at Mania. But I guess they're setting up for her and Lyra Valkyria over the IC title, possibly. Or maybe they just figured, well, if we do this, people are going to hate her because she took Bailey's spot. And we'll just feed into that, and make her back, heel. I don't know. It was weird how it was done. Like it, I don't know if they were trying to be clever in the way they were doing it, but yeah, it was just kind of weird.
Can I tell you a secret?
Sure, what's up?
I didn't care. Don't give a.
Come on, man.
I don't care.
Come on, man.
Bailey losing her spot means nothing to me. I have no
That
remorse.
oh
I
my
love
gosh.
Becky Lynch. I love Becky Lynch. I'll never not love Becky Lynch. At one point, she was the biggest star in this company. Um, and here's the thing, and I'll say this about Becky. I'll say this about Charlotte. These women, Becky, 38 years old, Charlotte Flair, 39 years old. Clock is hitting that 11th hour. Time is finite. It's running out. These women don't have a lot of time. They don't have a lot left in the tank. And that's evident in the fact that they are constantly injured. Their body's taking a toll. They've been wrestling for a long time. Why can't we let great people be great? Why? Why do people resent Becky Lynch for coming back and winning the tag titles? Why do they resent her for being champion in her last reign as a transitional champion? Wrestling fans are fickle, and quite frankly, I'm sick of it. Becky Lynch is the GOAT. Let her be the GOAT. Let her be the greatest. Let her win the title. Let her compete because she's not gonna be around a lot longer. I'm sorry to say. If she's around in 3, 4 years still, I'll eat my words and I'll say sorry to everyone who I've ridiculed for this. But listen, 38 years old. Not many women's wrestlers have wrestled that long consistently on a schedule. Trish Stratus took a long time off. Mickie James took breaks. Becky Lynch has been hurt. Is the only time she's other than I mean, she's being was a mother, spending time as a mother. But it's not like she has a lot of time left. Now I will say this: to have her win the title, then lose it the next day and turn heel, that's stupid.
Yeah, it was. I like Becky. I have no problem with her being in the main event, but why does her doing this have to be at Bailey's expense or anybody's expense? That doesn't make sense. There was no reason for you to do it that way at all. Um, and yeah, I disagree. I like Bailey. I think she's done a lot for that company. She's worked hard, and I don't agree with them bringing people back who haven't been wrestling and have them just get to show up at Mania. I don't care if it's Becky doing it. She hasn't been there. She's not been involved in anything. And yeah, it's ridiculous to have somebody else lose their WrestleMania spot to put Becky in it. As great as Becky is, there's no reason for you to do that.
There's our first take moment of the week. Jordan and I finally disagreeing about something. Um, Next up on the docket, Rusev returns to Raw. Triple alliteration, Jordan. Rusev for the last 5 years has been, well, sometimes he's been wrestling and sometimes he's not been wrestling. And whether that's because he's been hurt or because he's been going through a divorce or because he just doesn't want to show up for work or he doesn't want to do a job, I don't know. But he's been Miro on AEW. He was a TNT champion, a very good TNT champion, might I add, who cultivated a great gimmick as God's forsaken champion, the Redeemer. And yeah, he's returned to Raw to a lot of fanfare. A lot of people were excited to see him back. Looks great. Looks shredded.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Um,
it's always looked in good shape, just kind of a head case.
well, you know, I guess that, we don't know the inner workings of that, uh, his relationship with Tony Khan. We don't know exactly what happened. Um, but Jordan, where does Rusev fit in the landscape of the WWE right now?
Um, well, I don't know. I mean, he was obviously loved when he was there as Rusev. Um, I say loved. He was good as a bad guy, and he transitioned into being somebody who the fans really liked and really got behind with the whole Rusev Day thing. To which point they were chanting it when he came back. Um, and yeah, I think he could be a mid Carter. I think he could be a main event guy who you just kind of want to have a PLE type match with, but not really like we're going to make him the champion. If that
Hmm.
makes sense. Um, Kind of like just like a body you could have in there. Um, as far as him being anything big in WWE, I don't think he's going to be because he wasn't the first time. He wasn't the world champion, and he never really got to that point. And I mean, I don't know. I try to think back. I don't remember myself being that big of a Rusev fan back when he was there the first time. I mean, he was okay. He was good as a bad guy. But I never got the whole Rusev Day thing. Just me. I never really understood it. To this point, when he came back, I didn't really care all that much. Um, it is what it is. But yeah, I think he can be a mid card guy, mid card champion, IC champion, US champion, something like that. But I don't think he'll ever be like a main event type of guy.
Um, yeah, the thing you described sounds like what he was in AEW, which is
Yeah,
why I've never really understood the creative difference there. Is that, bro? I mean, say what you'd like about AEW, the roster is very um, talented. There's a lot of talent in AEW, and Miro or Rusev is a really talented guy, but it always seemed like his preoccupation was climbing the ladder when the TNT championship was really probably his ceiling. And he was a great TNT champion, but he always seemed frustrated that he couldn't, there was no upward mobility. And I don't see how joining the WWE alleviates those concerns. And I would be shocked if he's making as much money as he was in AEW. I, my natural question, Jordan, is: do you think CJ Perry or Lana is going to return with an accent?
Um, I I kind of hope not, just
Mm.
because like for me, it really ended his AEW run when she came there. It, she got in there and it didn't make any sense because he's supposed to be this, redeemer, this badass guy, and here comes his wife, who we everybody knows it's his wife,
Yeah.
and she comes in there and is like supposed to be his manager or like
Well,
she's his wife and he's like not happy she's there and it was
yeah,
really weird.
yeah,
It didn't make any sense and it basically ended his AEW run because after that he was gone. So
yeah.
and then they got divorced and I guess they're back together now and that's wonderful of them. I don't care. I've never seen her appeal. Obviously, I know what people like her appeal is to people, but
Right.
I just think she's like more annoying than anything else. Um, and I don't think it would benefit him at all to have her there. Um, so I mean, we'll see. I know she's like best friends with Liv Morgan, so you know, take that for what you will about whether she'll be there or not. But yeah, it's just I don't really want to see her there.
Um, Gunter, who got choked out on night one of
Poor
WrestleMania,
Gunther.
got choked out by Jey Uso. The video's not out yet, but Jordan made a great point that Jey Uso has no submission moves in his arsenal. He is not a submission
Yeah,
specialist, and he applied the ugliest rear naked chokehold on Gunter to tap him out in not a main of the opening match of night one, but a world heavyweight championship match nonetheless.
yeah.
Um, and
I just
Gunter, no,
I just want to say, can I just jump in here real quick?
yeah,
I want to talk because I've seen people trying to make this point that I guess in a match against I don't remember who it was, if it was Ilya Dragunov or somebody else beat Gunther with a chokehold, and they're like, oh well, that's they're it's long-term storytelling because he got choked out in the match 3 years ago on NXT, and it means he has a issue with chokeholds. No, like that's not the point. The point is Jey Uso is not a submission wrestler. I don't think he's ever won a match by submission before that I can remember. He might have. That's a lot of matches. I can't remember back that far. But I don't think remember any notable match he won where he won it by a submission. So for him to choke out Gunther, who is supposed to be a badass heel monster, who just like 2 weeks before that beaten and bloodied his brother on Raw, and now he's getting choked out in, like you said, a really ugly looking chokehold that, you know, it was just so ridiculous. Like you want to give Jay the title, fine, but there's no reason to make Gunther look weak. Same as Cody. Why do they have to look like complete morons when they lose the title? It didn't make any sense. So yeah, that was my issue with it.
There is no more emphatic way to beat another wrestler in a wrestling match than to make them submit,
Exactly.
other than putting them to sleep,
Yeah.
which is why that's reserved for the ilk of Samoa Joe
Gunter.
or a Gunter, someone, to suffocate someone until they can no longer compete there is no more emphatic way to end a match. There's just no other way to say it. And Jey Uso did that. He tapped him out. And Gunter went on Raw, and I mean, he crashed out. I mean, Michael, what did Michael Cole said? With all due respect, I'm not the one who tapped out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's what he said that Gunter snapped.
And then Gunter attacked Pat McAfee. What a cathartic moment for us. Am I fair to say neither of us like Pat McAfee?
No, I don't. His whole thing of being, I don't know what it is, like a jock or being a frat boy type of personality.
Yeah.
It's fine if you're on ESPN covering college football or you're on the NFL covering professional football. But here in wrestling, I don't like it. I don't want to listen to him on commentary. I think, I don't want to see him wrestling. And yeah, I'm glad that, Gunter grabbed Cole, tried to choke him out, and then McAfee came over and hit him. And then, I was kind of waiting for it, man. Don't tell me Pat McAfee's going to beat up Gunter. But then it's like, no, Gunter grabbed him and choked him out. And that's what you want to see. Pat McAfee's not a wrestler. He, he has had matches, if you want to call them that, but he's not a wrestler. And, he couldn't wrestle his way out of a paper bag. And Gunter rightfully choked him out. And I was happy for it. I was cheering for Gunter during that segment. I was happy about it. And then when they said that McAfee wasn't going to be on commentary, I was even happier because I don't want to see him on commentary. I don't want to listen to it. I don't need him when we're having a serious match. I don't need him to be, joking around, just saying whatever the heck he wants to say. Yeah, I was happy for it.
Yeah. But I think this confirms something that you said earlier in the show is where does Gunter go from here? Because this isn't a direction, him being aimless, him being angry, him being frustrated. It's not a story. That's not an angle. It's a reaction. And I hope I'm wrong, but I'm afraid that Triple H doesn't know what to do with Gunter now. It's not, this isn't just a problem with Triple H. This is a problem for bookers since time immemorial, is that you have a champion, lose the title, and then what do you do with them after that? Because it's hard. That crash can be difficult.
Yeah,
And for Gunter, when he lost the Intercontinental title, there was room there for him to grow. But that's not the case now. I mean, if you don't have the world championship, you're absolutely taking a step back and a step down. I just hope that he has a plan here for Gunter because I could point to, I don't want to name them all, but there's a lot of wrestlers in the WWE who were world champions and they lost their titles and they have been directionless since then, or they've fallen in the mid card and they're, wayward and adrift. And I
yeah,
hope that doesn't happen to Gunter.
yeah. It was my fear. I said it on. You can, when the WrestleMania Night One reaction video is posted. You all can see my reaction to it. But that was basically my point. I'm like, Gunther loses the title to Jay. Okay, what do you do now? He's lost title to Jay. He looked like a complete punk when he lost it. He looked weak. Same with Cody. Where do you go with Cody from here? He was a champion. He got foiled by a rapper and you know, old and out of his prime John Cena. Where do you go from here? You're just you're kind of directionless, and I don't have any faith in Triple H that he's going to know what to do
Oh,
because based off of that, no, what part of that build to WrestleMania makes you think he knows what to do? Because he
well,
doesn't. He
I'll
does
say
not.
this about Cody could turn heel and it could become interesting again. Cody has more flexibility, more malleability than Gunther's a heel, and he's always going to be a heel because that's how he is and that's what his disposition is. Cody has room to grow and to change, to evolve. Gunther does not.
Yeah, I
I
mean
think
I think there's potential, sure, but will he capitalize on that potential? Probably not. I don't think he does. I don't think his booking. And I don't want to go off into this whole side tangent, but people were happy when Vince was gone and Triple H took over because it was a breath of fresh air. It was new. It was exciting. They had some good stuff happen, and but ever since then, it sucked. It has not been good. He inherited the bloodline. He didn't create it. He inherited it, and he took that as far as he could go with it. And now, you like Roman Reigns. What does he do? He's directionless. You have, uh, Gunther. What do you do? He's directionless. Cody, yeah, he could turn heel, and then what do you have him do there? I mean, there's things he could do, but he's going to have to recover a little bit from getting, punked out and buried on at the main event of WrestleMania. Um, there's so many people that's careers have suffered because of Triple H's ineptitude at booking. And I don't have, and I hope he proves me wrong because I want to see good shows and I want the WWE to be strong, like I want AEW to be strong because you have two strong wrestling companies. That only helps wrestling. So I hope because AEW is on an upswing. We've talked about it. I'm not going to get into AEW right now, but they're on an upswing. So if you're WWE, you really need to step up because that WrestleMania, for the most part, not all of it, but for the most part, it sucked. So this Raw After Mania, it gave me hope. This Raw After Mania was really good. It gave me hope, and I hope things continue to get better going forward. But yeah, Gunther especially, I don't know what they're going to do with him.
talk about how the show ended. Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins returning. Heyman, obviously at the end of night one, betrayed Roman Reigns and CM Punk and joined Seth Rollins. We talked about, on the McAfee show, Heyman kind of reinvigorating fire in him, becoming a heel again, acting like a heel again, being a provocateur, saying things that other people can't say because he has that cachet. CM Punk tried to retaliate against Seth Rollins, failed. Roman Reigns came out and almost got the upper hand until a hooded figure stopped him in his tracks, and it was none other than your boy, effort, attitude, and toughness, Bron Breakker,
Yes, sir.
joining Heyman and Seth Rollins in this new faction. Immediate reaction, Jordan. What were you thinking?
Man, I just went on that rant, and we're going to end this on a positive note. I love this. Loved it. Braun Breaker, man, we have been talking about him being a main event type guy for so long. And he loses the IC title at WrestleMania, does not get pinned, but he loses the title, and he immediately upgrades his status by joining Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. Love this. Love it for Braun Breaker. It's about time he gets put in the main event picture to have a new young face. In and I don't know what they're going to do with him going forward, where he's going to be at, but him and Rollins together with Paul Heyman, that's going to be great. I loved it.
Um, we talked about this while we were watching the show. Is Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman going to be, are they going to act autonomous or are they going to become a new faction? Is this going to be the Dangerous Alliance 2.0 with Seth Rollins, the veteran, kind of shepherding this group? The Dangerous Alliance was a faction in the early 90s in WCW. managed by Paul Heyman. At that time, his name's Paulie Dangerously. And it consisted of Rick Rude was the star of the group. And then it was Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, Larry Zbyszko. And the young lion of that group was Steve Austin, of all people. And Paul Heyman at that time made an incredible proclamation, and this is in 1992, that by the end of the 90s, Steve Austin would be the biggest star in professional wrestling. And his goal with the group was to build Steve Austin into the next big star. And WCW never really followed Paul Heyman's vision. They never really believed it. They never believed in Austin that way. When I saw Bron Breakker join Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, I thought to myself, maybe this is his opportunity to try this again, and Bron Breakker be the young lion of this group. If this is, do you think this is going to be something entirely new, or do you think this is going to be the new Dangerous Alliance?
Um, I mean, I think it's probably going to follow the same type of mold. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be some differences. I love that pairing between these two, and I don't know if it's just going to be those two, if they're going to add anybody else into this. Maybe Gunther. Just talked about Gunther being directionless. I mean, you put Gunther in that group, man. I mean, you got Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Gunther in a faction. That's pretty dangerous. We want to talk about the dangerous alliance. So, um, I don't know. It was to me. It was for me. It was unexpected. I wasn't expecting it, which I think made it more exciting for me. And I am excited to see how it evolves going forward. Because it's new and it's fresh. And yeah, I love it. I love where it's going. I don't think it's gonna be a carbon copy, but I'm sure it'll have some similarities.
If you had to pick three other people to join this faction off the top of your head, doesn't have to be a final answer. Maybe you can revise it next week, but if you had to pick three other people, sort of in the mold of Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Larry Zbyszko, who would they be?
Well, Gunther, I just said. Um, I don't know, maybe Cody. Uh,
That would be wild. That would be
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, Cody. Third guy. Uh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody who could really use that rub. Uh, I mean, I think somebody who could really use some good booking is Finn Balor. But I mean, I don't know if he would join, but I think he would really help him out because he's just been lost. Um, so I just throw him in there because I can't right off the top of my head think of anybody else at the
What,
moment.
what about a Karrion Cross or an AJ Styles?
AJ, I would love this for. Um, we didn't get into it because I didn't want to talk about Logan Paul, but that was. I don't care how good the match was. Screw Logan Paul and screw Triple H for putting AJ Styles in that position. He was universally hated. Everybody felt bad for AJ to the point where they were hoping he would go to AEW, which means it was really bad.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, AJ, I would love it for. That's a really good one actually. Karrion Cross too. I don't know if people saw him. Uh, I guess it was a scripted crash out, but I'm sure there was truth in it, which made it really good.
Yeah.
That he was basically venting about how he wasn't in WrestleMania. He could have challenged Randy, but they didn't, and yeah, he just went went off basically, which I love. So yeah, there are plenty of people you could put in this group that would make it awesome.
Yeah, I gotta admit, you're kind of swinging for the fences there, Cody and Gunter, but I
Hey
mean,
man, I mean, look, you like Gunther especially. We just talked about it,
yeah,
so to me that would make sense. Like you have him in that group. Hey, look, you're down right now. You're back to back WrestleMania loser. You lost both your titles. Come in here. Paul Heyman can be like, hey, I'll help you out. I'll bring you back up. I mean, I will get you back to being the dominant force that you are. Like, I think that would be great. And then Cody, I mean, shoot, can you imagine how wild that would be for Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Cody Rhodes in a group? Now, yeah, it's unlikely, but I would love that.
my prediction here is going to be Finn Balor, Karrion Cross, and Carmelo Hayes. But we'll see. I'm really looking forward to this and where it goes. And if this group does expand, I want to see who joins it. I don't want to get too beholden to my predictions. But um, I think all in all, Raw After Mania started moving things in the right direction, a
Yeah.
positive direction,
Yeah.
especially after an abysmal WrestleMania.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This
Um,
was this was sorely needed.
yeah.
Sorely needed after that show. You needed to build some hope, some new things, some good angles going forward for the next year, and I think they got a lot of stuff to work with.
Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. Once again, next week Q&A. Feel free to leave us some questions that you'd like us to answer. Anything wrestling related, we're going to answer it. And as always, we're going to use timestamps. We'll send you the answer directly. And we love doing these episodes. We love answering your questions. Leave us any comments, any remarks you have about WrestleMania 41, about Raw After Mania, about The Rock's comments about the main event. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please check out my interview with Mark Fleming about Lou Thez and a lot of his insight and the things he learned from Thez. It's really interesting, especially if you're a wrestling historian or if you're someone who's even faintly interested in wrestling history. I think you'll really enjoy that a lot. As always, Jordan, talk to him, brother.
Top dogs out.